Hey, what's up, everybody? We'll try this again as we get Corona on here. The Lizzie and Beat podcast, turning family triggers into triumphs. Have you ever been triggered by your family? We're going to turn family triggers into triumphs. This is a powerful, powerful thing. I had somebody that was ultimately my business partner, and he was a bad business partner. But we had the time we spent together. I learned a lot from this person. I don't even like to say his name at this point in the game. This is many, many years ago. Just many years ago, not many, many years ago. But one of the things that he said is that when I was showing him my business plan, he goes, in order to do what you're doing here, you need to be 1,000% positive.
Wow, that's
And,
powerful.
and what that meant at this point was turning not just positives into positives, but turning negatives into positives.
You don't like this.
Nice. Is it one of those days?
Yes.
Oh, please, please tell us about it. I'm sure it has something to do with the topic. Can we turn those triggers
One
into
one
triumphs?
thousand percent.
Yeah. Let's turn those triggers into triumphs.
Days we just gotta stop right in our tracks and just breathe. Yeah. Um, turning family triggers into triumphs. That's actually what prevented me from being on the previous live that we had here. Um, sometimes we are always willing to go above and beyond and help even when it's a situation that has literally almost nothing to do with ourselves, right? um and it sometimes reaches a point where it almost becomes so uncomfortable to your being because it's kind of stepping into your time and space and your responsibilities. It's like trumping your responsibilities. So yeah, that was a precursor there. And I was just like, you know what? I need to take a quick step, sit down, and legit just breathe through it because sometimes it becomes energy that's just unbearable to the point that it's taking me out of my own kind of mindset and my own momentum, right? So yes.
So,
How are
so what,
you?
what, what, what was something that not necessarily brought us together, but it was one of the things that we did early on, not early on, but the SDSU Breathing for Peace.
Yeah. So back in my days, I almost sound like a baby boomer saying that, but back in my younger days, at SDSU, while I was kind of transitioning out of student activism and kind of negating my way into my own humanity and my purpose, right? I had a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. Um, I mean, you met activist Corona, student Corona, and when we started SDSU Breathing for Peace, which ended up being a big part of my daily practice now. Um, I was going through the transition of leaving all of that behind and growing more as a person individually and growing into who I want to be, you know, growing into my person. And I'm still kind of in that same track of my life, but yes, breathing.
Do you know that that you probably know this part, but I came up with that probably three years before I shared it with the masses. I came up with that. I mean, it was in the children's book, but to be
Mm-hmm.
able to share it individually. One year I was using it before I had shared it with just one person
Mm-hmm.
that was going through a lot. He was a student, but he was like in his 40s and going back and forth to school over time, working, and then going there. Had a
Mm-hmm.
bad, really bad alcoholic problem,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I shared that with him. But one of the things that I put in there is with the intentions that I put towards that. That every time you take that breath, you're breaking your family's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Did I ever tell you that?
No.
Yeah.
That's
That was
a new part of the puzzle that you're just
yeah,
giving me now.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I can definitely see it. I mean, right now, what did I do the first moment I sat down and got on this live with you? I at the pit of my stomach and at my throat, I started feeling like my tightening and then like anxiety and just an adrenaline rush that I just really didn't want to deal with, right? But a big part of facing our fears are just kind of coming into terms with those feelings and finding how to best transform them. And so, I mean, the first thing I saw when I looked over was, my sage with my bundle, my little crystal. And I remembered I had a lighter right in front of me because I have candles around here, so sometimes I light them up. But
I,
really good aromatherapy, right?
I wrote a poem, and I've shared this with you before, but
Mm-hmm.
it's based on, and I shared this actually in the podcast too.
Mm-hmm.
But a baby comes in, the baby can't breathe. Eyes, and then the baby breathes. And
Okay,
I
you cut out,
believe,
but I heard what you said.
okay, and I believe that's a pattern that we go through in our life. So there was probably your intuition was telling you to grab that sage before, but you didn't feel worthy about it until you had that smack. And then you cried, and then you took a breath.
Yeah.
So I believe a healing practice, and I was going to say the right one, but I don't want to say that. But let's say that my healing practice is about being able to get to that place of humility, vulnerability, compassion without the bad stuff happening to me.
Mm.
Being worthy or having enough pain on you in order to strive. And also, if you're able to have an interdependence, that you're able to go and find that yourself, but also rely on other people's stuff that
Mm-hmm.
they're going through that they may not want her to survive. I mean, might not want to resolve, and push through that stuff. Because I shared this when you weren't around on the last one that's deleted in no man's land forever. But these triggers that are in your family, they could have been around for generations.
Mm.
But let's just say that they're not. In this lifetime, as your personality was being shaped, you got approval, you got food, and you got shelter
Mm-hmm.
by being whatever you needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I got
That's interesting. I never thought of that until now.
yeah. So you're all that stuff is designed, and
Mm-hmm.
also in most families,
Mm-hmm.
we're paying attention to what other people are doing wrong opposed to putting in ourselves and helping us shape and grow ourselves.
Mm.
And I would say like most people are also paying attention to it. But usually they do that when stuff gets really bad. That's smack.
Mm-hmm.
Cry, breathe. But if we can proactively just get to the
Smack
breath,
ourselves and breathe.
I would skip that cycle
You would
because that's a
skip. You
cycle.
would skip the. You would skip the smack.
Skip all that.
You would just stay breathing.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
mean,
but
that's
also let's also talk about breathing period as the act of breathing, right? Getting by with breathing versus I think the type of breath exercises we did while we did SDSU breathing for peace, right? Because I mean we're all breathing at the end of the day.
so. One of the things I like to put in is conscious breath,
Mm-hmm.
and also sitting in a room all day or sitting in a park all day,
Mm-hmm.
meditating, but not making the necessary steps in your life for
Mm-hmm.
transformation and change. I mean, in the society we live in, they're gonna take your house away from it. There's gonna be a lot of things that are taken away from you. So it's about that balance, about that harmony for being able to be in tune with being in the world but not being of the world. I'm not a religious person, but I love that statement. Being in the world but not being of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people just accept is like, oh, I'm in business. Everybody's like this way in business. I got to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like why?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that might have been shaped for the first 7 years of your life. Like you might have been
Mm.
rewarded for doing things the right way. But like what is the right way?
Who defines it?
And like even somebody might go to an extreme is like, oh, you think everybody should be pedophiles? No, I didn't fucking say that. I was saying there's not just one way to fucking do something.
Mm-hmm.
There's many different ways. And that's what the whole gist of the Harvard model sucks is there's many ways to go about things. And that's the gist of the LGBTQRS elemental P flag is coming out of the closet as our authentic selves and being able to.
LGBTQIA plus. The plus is everything else.
Oh, I said it wrong.
Yeah. Nice try.
I got the first.
Elemental
I got the first.
P.
I got the first seven. I mean, I can't do pi further than that. So I think I was good.
You did good.
So
Pat on the back.
did you know I have pi memorized all the way out to.
I did not know that, but you have to say it now. I'm gonna
Do you
Google
want,
it.
you want to bet? You want to
Do
bet?
it. Do it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's 22/7.
I was waiting for you to start with 3.14.
That's the fraction that covers what
You
we're
just
talking about.
cheated. You just cheated your way through that.
Harvard model sucks.
All right, activist.
There's not only one way to do stuff.
True. Very true. No, it's true.
Yeah, yeah. I've got everybody on that one.
That was a good one.
Yeah, yeah. You're smart enough not to bet me on that.
I was just waiting for the numbers here.
You know, with like logically, I would not be able to like want to even like think of why I would need to know that in any situation. So, first 7 of your years of your life, there's a reward system that's in place. Food, shelter is how you're shaped, and then you have patterns. And then, have you ever been in a relationship that somebody? I personally have. I'm saying it for the audience too. That somebody like, oh, you need to change, you need to change, you need to change, and then you start to change, like in a positive way, that might even be within the rewards of what the way they wanted to do it, but then they don't want you to change.
Right.
They attack it, they sabotage it. There's lots of things that are going on in there. So your family gets comfortable with you being a certain way, even if they might be complaining about something. And then you start a business. I remember one time with my mom, I was like, yeah, and I had been self-employed like my whole career, but I was like, I was getting more in the entrepreneur realm, probably like late 20s. And I remember mentioning to my mom, she's like, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna start this business. And she goes, yeah, she goes to my dad. It's like, oh, the things he doesn't know that's going to involve taxes and a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, to my mom, I was like, yeah, you know, I went to like college and studied business finance, don't you? I might have been a little like more emotional at that time. Sorry, I was a little more emotional. I wasn't calmly saying that. And it was just like a trigger that happened. And a lot of times people lose focus on their purpose because
do you think it had to do with her questioning your identity?
that might have been part of it. Yeah, my identity of that she sees.
Like right, her interpretation of your identity.
Yeah, her yeah, for
and
sure.
How genuine you really were to all these titles, right?
Yeah.
Through her eyes, through her lens.
Yeah, for sure. And also, if in her mind, if I all of a sudden became really successful in business, then I wouldn't need her. And the reason why I'm saying that is because this happens on a lot of everyday basis, and it's more of a subconscious thing that happens, and people aren't just aware of these things. So a lot of times I did a podcast with Justin and Yannick yesterday, and Yannick shared it on Facebook, and I didn't see the post, but Yannick said there was like a racist storm, lots of racist comments, and I posted to Yannick. I was like, yeah, I'm sure they're very wounded, and I'm gonna pray for them. Which always isn't the reaction from me. I never know what it's gonna be, but for most of the time it's that, because it's like I'm not gonna let that affect me. Right. I'm not like that 100% of the time. Sometimes I want to snap somebody's neck, especially when it involves other people. So I know that it's their wound. I know that it has to do, it's all about them.
The ego.
I know that some of it could be like not racist, because I didn't see the comments. It could be just like they're threatened by somebody with the confidence of me and Justin, and Yannick. It could just be that. And if they don't think that I've earned a right to talk, that's fine, because I didn't earn a right to talk. I went in the house and I freaking stole it in the middle of the night. I didn't earn it. Or I probably earned it more than anybody. That sounded very arrogant, but I've definitely fought for my rite of passage. I've earned it. I have no question about that. And there's not many people that know that, and that's totally fine, because that is a waste of energy. So going back to this, our lives are shaped by. Did you ever see The Matrix?
Probably once, a long time ago.
Okay, so there's
the blue pill and the red pill.
Yeah. So there's this one point that Neo, which is the chosen one, and he's laying in this place, or he sees these people, and they're all laying on these beds, and they're attached to the bunch of these tubes. And let's think of those tubes as our identity. And so many of us are caught up in these different types of identities and different parts of our identities over here or these identities over there, that we get stuck because we're propping up this identity.
Mm.
I had a situation with my ex where after we broke up, she went and talked shit to the woman that introduced us, her sister, and her sister went out with one of my friends from high school. And then she just totally destroyed my identity, which was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden I wasn't hanging around those certain groups anymore. And I was going within to build what I'm continuing to build. And also, at around 38 years old, I was finally in a place. I was always in a place that I didn't care that people thought, but it was more, I wasn't noticing when. Sometimes I was caring what people thought at certain times at the wrong time. Another thing that business partner taught me is, and he's told me, is like, he's like, you have a weak emotional bucket. But what
does that mean?
So think of emotional bucket as a, this isn't a bucket, but imagine this is a bucket full of water. Okay? When people come to you, it's kind of awesome that I have these two here. When people come to you and say, "Oh, you're starting a business? Oh, like what did you study in school? Like what does that have to do with the business?" You're here, and then all of a sudden you go here. And I want you, for the audience, to define what this is, and everybody individually, like, looking at this, like, what is this? You can speak it out, or what do you think would be better for everybody to just feel what this means?
Speak it out.
So before you got on the podcast, you were here, and then all of a sudden, something was said to you. There was a reaction.
Oh, and I was in the other one.
What was that?
It's like that empty cup, right? Or the cup of water, right? How do you want to be, half full or half empty type of thing? And how often are you pouring in that cup?
I think it's deeper than that.
In part, it has something to do with it, though.
Yeah. I said it's deeper. I said it's deeper.
Yeah.
It's let's tap more into the feeling. This is no matter what's.
I mean, like, who? But that goes back to saying, like, who wants to be more dehydrated, right?
Yeah.
It's about, like, holism. It's about feeling whole or being whole, having that full cup of water.
Justin said it perfect. Your energy's being depleted. It's just like it's like your soul was all of a sudden you're going here, everything's like go.
Good, because you got water.
Why are you starting? I heard you're starting a business. Why are you starting a business? You're a fucking idiot.
Oh, I see where you're going. I see where you're going. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share. Because everyone loves story time. But yes, right now I had an encounter with my mother. I'm currently in transition, so I'm staying at her home. And with the whole pandemic, obviously a lot of kids are going through the whole transitioning in and out of school online versus school in person. So my family, if y'all have been watching our lives on our podcasts, we caught COVID back in January. Now, the girls also caught it, and they all had to go through the whole testing and getting the PCR tests submitted to the school system. This is LAUSD I'm talking about, right? And so once, I guess there's a policy that probably just kicked into the system where instead of waiting 5 days with your test, you have to wait 10 days to get a negative. And so to where we're at, one of the kids is still home, my youngest brother. All of the other girls, even the ones who tested positive for COVID, are back in school. And for some reason, I guess LAUSD has a system where you have to have a daily pass in order to go to school. His daily pass was canceled. So he's been home, not getting any type of education. My mom had to get into it with the school because they weren't even giving him a laptop to do work remotely. And she's been calling the LAUSD district about it since about 2 weeks ago. Because at first she thought it was 5 days, then it was 10 days, then, just a whole mess of after the other with her. And so today I walked out and she was again on the phone, and I was like, well, let me help you, right? Like I have a little small break. Let me go ahead and take this call, and obviously I speak English, so I can get through to whoever it is I need to get to and talk to them.
You speak English?
You'd be surprised. I've got a handle of the language. And so me, just to make things easier for her and being a good daughter and being someone who went to school out here and educated and proving how I took it upon myself to help her get through to one of the supervisors, because she was just getting placed on hold and calls transferred. So finally I get to someone. One of the supervisors is also dealing with the same problem, not getting through to anyone. And that's why we were interrupted. Now, it brings me to the point of those labels, right? Our parents wanting to place us into these categories, but also kind of how ironic it is, right? Because here she is seeking out my help, and me literally taking the role of being the child's mother on the call to help him get back to school. I was literally, my name is Cecilia. That's my mom, right? But because she can't speak English, I was speaking English for her, playing the role of the mom.
You're breaking my heart.
And it's just ironic to me, because rewind a few weeks back, or a couple weeks back, or even recently, there has been times where she is constantly just belittling me or questioning me and my abilities to mother my child, right, to parent my son. But it's just ironic.
How does that feel?
It's not a good feeling. It's like that empty bottle of that shitty water that you've got there. What is that? Oh, I thought that was the other one.
This is the empty one. This is the empty one.
Oh, yes, it feels like that. It's like an empty jar where you feel depleted, right? Your energy, your body, mind, spirit, wellness just kind of starts to, I don't even like to use that. I like to think of a thread, right? A thread kind of running and becoming so frail and so thin that it could rip, right? Yeah. And so sometimes I got to take a step back.
So let's heal this situation for you and for the audience. So one of the examples that I used was that during slavery, there's been slavery, and there's slavery going on in the world as we speak, but particular slavery, African American slavery in the United States, we have to acknowledge that the slave owners or the slave masters were also wounded, because you just don't put through people through those horrible conditions unless you're have a lot of trauma to be able to do that down. So your mom's stuff, she's attaching it to you.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Jerome told me at one point when I had him speak at one of my events back in the day is, if you worry about something for more than 17 seconds, it attaches to your body. And at that point in time,
let me go light this shit real quick.
and at that point in time, I said to myself, I said, 17 seconds? How about 17 years?
Holy shit.
I was in my early 30s, and I was still arguing plays in baseball from Little League.
Let me light this up for you.
Well, I've resolved most of that, so that's here and there. I mean, stuff comes up every once in a while, but that stuff doesn't even matter to me.
Lord. Yeah, don't repress those emotions, y'all. Don't repress them. Sometimes it's hard to take them head on. And I'm very vocal. So it sometimes has nipped me in the butt, because sometimes I say a truth, and that truth is just taken to an even more darker space, and not by me.
What you're doing is you're communicating from here.
Yeah.
And you're communicating a wound.
Yeah.
It does. When you communicate a wound, it doesn't matter what. Well, sorry.
It doesn't even matter what you say.
I was gonna say it doesn't matter what you say, but I've communicated a wound and picked the right words before, so it's possible.
I don't even know how that is the case. How is that possible?
So the one that popped in my mind is, a bus driver was going, and it was like a long day. I had driven a ride, and I kind of just like pull up next to him, and I acted like I didn't see the bus. And then I have my window rolled down, and he starts yelling at me. And then he's like, "Oh, you're not gonna let me go." Da, 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 da. And then I started yelling at him back. And then all of a sudden I stopped, and I was like, "Dude, man, I love you, bro."
You would.
I was like, "Dude, and I wasn't, the wound was still partially there." And then all of a sudden he was able to calm down. I was like, "Yeah, what are you doing this weekend?" And I just was able to do that, because sometimes that's one of the things in psychology is you want to mirror and match the energy. And then the way I learned it was mirror and match, like the way they talk, hold their head, mirror and match them, because people like people because we all are a certain way, and people like themselves. So if you talk the same tone and you say the different places, I mean, different things along those lines, then that's how you build rapport. And the way I learned it was you mirror and match and then lead. Just like you're looking into a mirror, you mirror and match and lead. Now, and right there, I mirrored and matched, then healed. Because a lot of times, if say somebody's like in a real negative place, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh no, the world's a great place. You gotta just like be out there and everything's awesome. You'll sound very annoying. But you're like, oh yeah, I see some fucked up shit in the world too, and everything like that. But we got to be better than this. You and I've got to, like, you kind of got to transition them out of that, and in a way to do that. So, I want to share my formula. So, my formula has 3 parts, and this is the past right here. look, Corona, here's the past. Right down here is the present, and here's the future. Past, present, future. Yes. So, cause and effect is the first part of the formula. CE. Cause and effect is the first part of the formula. I eat this, I get this result. I lift this way, I get this result. I say this, I get this result. So when we do this, for operating in this world, we have so many patterns that we have in life that we get stuck. But we have so much information in our head, we get stuck. Because we're looking at the past. Because how are you going to transform when you're just doing everything based on your memory from the past and all these patterns? Because ultimately we want to like operate from our intuition. And then we have the future. What breaks us out of this for most of us? What breaks us out of that cause and effect hypnotism? Chaos. Like all of a sudden somebody says, yeah, I don't have time to do anything. And then all of a sudden coronavirus happens. And then all of a sudden all of us have a bunch of time. Or I don't have time, I'm always busy. And then all of a sudden they get sick. Like where'd that time come from that they have to stay at home? Or they get in a car accident and they can't get out of bed for a while because they're back. Why did all of a sudden do they have time now? People aren't paying attention to, they're not loving their families as much. There's lots of conflict happening a lot of times. But all of a sudden somebody gets cancer or somebody gets a disease. And then all of a sudden, why does it all of a sudden change that people are comfortable enough and get out of the way enough? Because that chaos. So that chaos, which is the future, creates a situation that opens people up. So you have the cause and effect from the past, and you have the chaos for the future. Most people are operating off of just that. It's balance opposed to harmony. How do we add harmony? The third part, which is the present, is humility. Having the humility to be able to let go now instead of waiting until bad shit happens. And with these three places, you create, it's the compassion formula. Because I believe that compassion is the most productive energy in the universe. Compassion gets us the fuck out of the way. How is compassion created? You take the sadness, the anger that's going on in the world, and you combine it with love, and you create compassion. It gets us the fuck out of the way. We're in a point that I was able to be kind of mad at that guy and then be able to let go because I didn't want to put anything on there and actually use it that I was taking a negative and I was turning it to a positive. Because I probably couldn't have gone to the bus driver without that creating that conflict there first and say, hey, how's it going? What are you doing this weekend? You'd probably like think I was crazy, which I am, but I'm good crazy, not bad crazy. So right now I want to do something for the audience, and I want Corona to stop being so busy and pay attention here for a second. And we're going to do a nice meditation with your eyes open or your eyes closed, letting go of the past, of the way things were done in the past, the way that our situations were with our family members, letting go of that, letting go of the struggle and the harm that no longer serves us, to create a compelling future with humility right here, right now, starting to channel into not words, but energies of compassion, humility, vulnerability, to create a compelling future right here, right now. Seeing past ways of doing things melting away, finding a way right here, right now to find positive ways of turning negatives into positives and positives into positives, uber positives, letting go of ways that no longer serve us, finding ways to change and shift in the moment, not being able to spend years of letting go of all the pain and the struggle, but finding moments, being able to let go in a moment, right here, right now, being able to let go of your fears right here, right now to create a compelling future. Now, right now, I want you to put the past over here and put the future right here and put the present right here. And now I want you to put the present right here and the past right here and the future right here. And now, like the cup game,
All love.
do you have anything? Do you have anything you want to add?
Nope.
What was your experience?
Um, I think towards the end when you started talking about the compassion formula, I was getting re-triggered. So I just felt like like a sudden rush of like anxiety and not being able to breathe through it. I'm back now. I'm back
So,
now.
so,
But I had like
but
I feel like
this is
my heart's
the
popping out of my chest.
so the thing that's part of this is this is something that naturally happens. What the formula gives as a gift is you able to do it
Mm-hmm.
by yourself. So you don't have to wait for other people to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take it. So it's just like a little thing that's able to trigger you and get you back on focus, opposed to trying to have a bunch of distractions so you're not paying attention to this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I was in my car the other day and I was telling a passenger who kind of was in the worked around lawyers but wasn't a lawyer, and I was telling her about the JediLawyer.com, and then she's like, "Oh, she's like, are you going to go to law school?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not going to law school. If I go to law school, I would just like be like every other attorney, or like I'm here to help them build their legacy, and it's not about law." Like it's that's just the target, but I don't have no intentions of learning the law because that's not what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
It's about influencing people that are in the law practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden she just like did that. She triggered me like old relationships, like, oh, this guy's an idiot type stuff. And I let it happen and just totally got upset and got quiet so I could use it to help me to get focused.
Shit.
That's the goal. I'm here to trigger you too, Justin.
If y'all ever miss our podcast on the live, you can always tune in on Bob Capella's page. He has them in the reels, or where do you have them?
I just have them on the
Tell
page. I don't
on the
reels.
page. Y'all can scroll through and pop them open again and watch from the beginning. It's a lot. It's a lot to cover. It was a good podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else?
Nope. Keep breathing, y'all.
Yeah, yeah,
Do some yoga.
for sure.
Peace.
Peace.